Hello, sixth graders. So today we're going to begin topic 2.6, which is about writing inequalities. So before you even need to write an inequality, you need to know what an inequality is. So an inequality is a number sentence that compares two quantities. Okay, so when we have inequalities, we're comparing two things and we're using some symbols. All right, and the symbols we have seen before, but we're going to kind of discuss them right now. All right, so if you see the word less than, okay, if you see the word less than, the symbol for that, we've seen that before, looks like this. Okay, the less than symbol looks like that. All right, and that stands for less than. We talked about that in 5th grade. We talked about that in 4th grade. And some key phrases that tell you that you're dealing with the less than symbol is an obvious less than. All right, so if you see less than, you know you're doing less than. And another phrase that's not as obvious is also fewer than. Okay, less than or fewer than tells you that you're using the less than symbol. All right. If you're using the greater than symbol, okay, it's the other way, which looks like that. And that is the greater than symbol, okay? And some phrases that tells you to use the greater than symbol would be greater than. And another phrase would also be more than. So less than and greater than, the phrases that we see when we need to use those symbols are pretty straightforward. All right, when we get to the other two symbols, which are less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, it gets a little trickier with the phrases. So when something is less than or equal to, what that means is that it is less than something, but it can also be that something. So if I say, to ride this ride, you need to be less than or equal to 5 feet. What that means is that you can be less than 5 feet, but you can also be 5 feet or be equal to 5 feet. So the symbol for that is the less than symbol. And then since it's equal to, we take part of the equal sign and we write it down below. So that's the less than symbol, less than or equal to. Now, when you're typing it into your computer, what I would do, I would type the less than symbol and then highlight it and underline it. Okay, and that will give you that line underneath, because I don't know if you can actually input that into Google Slides. So again, put the less than symbol, highlight it, and then underline it. All right. Now, some phrases that tell you that we're going to do less than or equal to. The first phrase, which sounds a little weird, but the first phrase is at most. Okay, so at most, you can be 5 feet. So that means you either have to be less than 5 feet or 5 feet, but you cannot be more. So if you see the phrase at most, that means that it is less than or equal to. Another phrase is no more than. Okay, so another phrase is no more than. And what that means, you can be no more than 5 feet. So you can be 5 feet, you can be less, but you cannot be more than 5 feet. That's a phrase that tells you you're using a less than or equal to sign. And the last phrase is up to. Okay, you can be up to 5 feet to ride this ride. Okay, so you can go up to 5 feet, anything less than that. You can be 5 feet, but you cannot be more. Okay, so at most, no more than, or up to tell us to use the less than or equal to sign. Now, the next one, greater than or equal to, okay, would be the greater than symbol with, just like the less than, a line underneath of it. Okay, so again, in order to type that into your computer, choose the less than sign on your keyboard and then underline it by highlighting it and clicking the underline button. Now, some phrases. Okay, key phrases to tell us that we're going to use the greater than or equal to sign. Okay, instead of saying at most, it's at least. Okay, so what I mean by that, you have to be at least 5 feet to ride this ride. Now, what that means is you can't be less than 5 feet. You have to be at least 5 feet, so 5 feet or above. Okay, another phrase instead of no more than is no less than. Okay, so you can be no less than 5 feet to ride this ride. And what that means is you can be 5 feet, you can be more than that, but you cannot be less than 5 feet. All right, now these phrases are important because what we are going to do is we are going to be reading a sentence and writing the inequality based on what the sentence says. So let's look at some examples. A number is less than 4. Okay, so we have our variable f. Let's underline what the phrase is. So I see less than. And our number that it's less than is 4. Okay, so f is less than, which is the less than symbol, 4. And that's a pretty straightforward one. F is less than 4. A number k, the next one, a number k is at most 8. So what's the phrase in the second part? Well, the phrase I see is at most. So we know our variable is k, and we know our number that is at most is 8. We need to figure out what symbol is in between. Okay, so again, this is in our notes. We talked about this phrase, at most. So if a number k is at most 8, can it be 8? Yes, it can be 8. Okay, now can it be more than 8? It's saying it can be at most 8. That means the most it can be is as 8. So it cannot be more than 8. It can only be less than or equal to. So less than or equal to. All right, and let's just double check by looking at that phrase. At most, I know is less than or equal to, so I did that correctly. Okay, the product of W and 6 is at least 6. So again, the product of W and 6, how we could write that could be 6 times W, like that. 6W is at least 6. So 6 is going to be on the other side. And we need to figure out what our inequality is in between. Now, we just talked in the earlier problem, at most means that it is greater or less than or equal to. So at least means that it's going to be the opposite, which is greater than or equal to. Okay, so 6W is greater than or equal to 6, is at least 6. Okay, because it can be more than 6. It can be 6, but it cannot be less than 6. Okay, the next one, the sum of 10 and j is more than 12. So again, this one's pretty straightforward. Our phrase is more than. So the sum of 10 and j, we talked about that sum means addition. So 10 plus j, okay, is more than 12. So we have the more than or greater than sign, and then the number 12. All right. The next one, 15 is no less than a number g. So again, our phrase I see is no less than. Okay, so 15 is no less than a number g. So we have 15 on one side, we have g on the other, and we need to think about what no less than means. Okay, and again, if you're not sure, you can look back. No less than means greater than or equal to. Okay, so 15 is greater than or equal to g. Now the next one, the product of 6 and h is no more than 12. So again, product of 6 and h, no more than, I see that phrase there. Okay, product of 6 and h would be 6h smushed together. You can also do the dot if you would like to. Okay, and then 12 is on the other side, and now our symbol, no more than. Okay, so 6h can be no more than 12. So we know it can be 12. Okay, can it be greater than 12? It cannot be. Can't be more than 12. So it has to be less than or equal to 12. And again, we can double check and see. No more than means less than or equal to. Okay, the next one, the quotient of 3 and x is at most 24. So I see our phrase at most. Okay, the quotient means division, so 3 divided by x. I can also write that as 3 over x. and then 24 on the other side. And now this 3 divided by x is at most 24. So it can be 24. It can be at most 24, so which means it cannot be greater than 24. So it has to be less than or equal to 24. And we can check again on our list. At most is under, less than, or equal to right here. All right. And lastly, 5 is fewer than 6 less than a number k. Okay, so 6 less, let's start with the 6 less than a number k part. Okay, so 6 less than a number k. So what they're saying here is that 6 is being subtracted from k. So it's k minus 6. This stands for 6 less than a number k, and it's 5 is fewer than. Okay, so 5 is on the other side, and it's saying 5 is fewer than or less than 6 less than a number k. This one's a little tricky because you see less than here, so you kind of have to think twice about it, but really all it's telling you is to do subtraction for that. All right, so all you're doing, boys and girls, is looking at our phrases. Okay, so if you look at that front page, all of these phrases tell us what inequality to use. Okay, and all you're doing today is just writing out those phrases and which inequality goes with what phrase. Now, you can use your chart to help in your notes, okay? You can also think about it in a real situation, like how I was doing when I was thinking about like going on a ride, because you see those signs a lot when going on rides, like it can't be great, you can't be greater than this height, you can't be less than this height, but you can be that height sometimes. So that's where the or equal to part comes from. All right, so the Google form attached to this Ed Puzzle is going to just have you guys practicing more, writing out these inequalities and matching those. Okay, so make sure when you wrote all of the equal to signs, you highlighted that sign and underlined it. So you got that underline. Because if you don't have the underline underneath the greater than or equal to sign, it does not mean the same thing. All right, please email me if you do have any questions, and have a